Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, this episode was brilliant up to a point. So there's good and there's bad, and I'm going to save the bad for last. Let's start with the good. The acting, the character work was brilliant. We start off with a scene with Picard and Riker at 10 forward, where Riker is basically telling Picard about the birth of his son. The worst 17 seconds of his life, where he became a father in the elevator, basically in the turbo lift, down to the sick bay when there was something wrong with his son. And it's devastating because we see his joy, but we know how that's going to end, and we know we're never going to see this character. And you see Picard sort of longing for that in Riker's absence. And I don't know, we finally saw Marina, but she was just playing the shrill mother, basically saying, come home and bring the whiskey. It was fun. But, yeah. So that's how the episode starts. And then we go to the current day situation where they are stuck in the nebula. They are being hunted by the Shrike, who keeps finding them no matter where they go. And we have the scene between Beverly and Jean-Luc. They're on opposite sides of the sick bay, and it was pretty amazing acting-wise. And it was totally believable. Beverly explained everything. Now, I was hoping that they would have used that year that she went to Starfleet Medical, because we all would love for that to be explained in real world. I mean, in the actual universe, because in the real world she got fired because she was too challenging for the producer, and he got her fired, and then he got fired, so they brought her back. But it would have been nice to have had a in-world explanation for that she basically got pregnant and ran off. But no, basically this happened just prior to Nemesis, so Beverly was pregnant during Nemesis. And after all the stops and starts, all 5 attempts at relationships that they had, she realised Jean-Luc was never going to change, and she went and did her Doctors Without Borders things, and she realised that her son would have a target on her back if anyone knew who he was, so that's why she disappeared, basically. So it all makes sense. Even the accent. He asks right at the end, what about the accent? She's like, oh, he went to college in London and it just stuck. And she's like, I guess it must be in the DNA. So that was sort of all resolved, and it was kind of heartbreaking. You felt his anger, like you didn't give me a chance. You chose for me. I didn't get to be a father, and what we could have maybe been and all that. So that was very well done. Now the ship itself, there's a bit of conflict where the crew is resenting these people that they're risking their lives for. Beverly's helping out in the sick bay, but the doctor is like not sort of happy with her being there. Although she does help save the captain's life. Now the captain gets injured during one of the attacks, and he gives command to Riker, and then he gets taken to sickbay, and he's almost dying of internal injuries, which the sickbay didn't detect because they were delayed. And she scanned him, and she's basically relying on the tech and the sickbay, whereas Beverly, of course, has 20 years of Doctors Without Borders experience with no tech, just instincts and knowledge, and she finds the problem. But the drops of blood leading all the way out to sickbay kind of give Jack a hint, and he works out what's happened to the ship. Now we have a nice little scene between 7 of 9, because who knew Jonathan Frakes could act? And I forgot that Jerry Ryan could act, because she hasn't acted in the last 2 seasons. But she had a little moment with LaForge, who came down and basically said, you're not alone, it's okay. And then Jack shows up, and they work out that the Shrek is finding them because they're leaking something that is being followed like breadcrumbs. And it's something that the ship wasn't detecting because it was sabotage. So we're in Star Trek 6 territory here. So the guy at the start that we saw Picard correct his uniform, I didn't think that was anything, but Murder, She Wrote fans were like, they were onto that. He's a saboteur. And he phasered something that would leak but not be detected by the ship. So they fixed that. Now, in the meantime, he tries to kill Jack. He attacks him and leaves him in this gas chamber, and he nearly dies. And Picard, gets the message that he's in sickbay, and while Dr. Crusher's trying to save him, he gets that turbo lift down, those 17 seconds, and it's kind of heartbreaking to watch Picard go through all these emotions and all this experience, and he gets there. He nearly dies. I actually thought for a second, could they kill him? Could this be a big twist where they actually kill him and they have to mourn their child and the child he never had? Or are they going to let him have a son? But of course, Beverly revives him and he's fine. And Picard's there. So we have the saboteur. We don't know what's happening now. We have this conflict between Riker and Picard, because Riker has been given command and Picard has said, "Call me number one." But he wants to turn and fight, whereas Riker wants to hide, basically, and protect the ship because they know they can't win in a fight. So Riker's kind of been ruined. He's kind of been broken by his son dying, and he's afraid. And Picard is feeling protective as a father. So those two instincts, the defeated parent and the new parent, are sort of conflicting. And there we come to a point where the saboteur damages the warp, because their whole strategy was to just hide until they could fix the warp and then get out of there. So they try and get out, and the Shrike, not the Shrek. Hope I wasn't calling it that the whole time. They use the portal device. They put the portal in front of the ship and then basically make it appear back inside the nebula. And then eventually the warp's damaged. They realise they're not going to escape, and Riker kind of panics, and he basically has Picard standing there saying, "Attack!" So he actually attacks, and it doesn't work. They basically put the portal in front of the ship and send all their weapons back behind them in another portal, and they basically blow themselves up. And Riker basically tells Picard to get off the bridge because he's killed them all, which I think was, sorry, Will, that was your choice. You may have panicked and he may have been pushing you, but you made that choice. He didn't order, anything. Although he did do a good job of earlier commanding the phases and everything. So, but yeah, so Picard's off the bridge. Seven's out of the Jack knocked out the security guard, so Seven's out of her quarters where she was confined. Beverly's in sickbay. And now we get to Raffi's story. Now, yes, the first time we go to Raffi fairly early on, it's like, oh God. But then Worf's there. Chamomile drinking, self-help Worf. He's hilarious. Michael Dorn's having a ball with this new, improved Worf that is still a warrior, but picking and choosing. And it's funny because Raffi is indeed scarier than him, and scarier than he ever was. So they're interrogating this guy they think is having withdrawal symptoms, but what he is a changeling who needs to change back to his liquid form. And they work out that's what this is all about. Basically, Worf was informed by Odo that there was a faction of the Founders that were breaking off, that were terrorists, that wanted to attack the Federation. And this attack, using the portal device, is just a distraction from what they've really stolen, or what the real threat is. So, basically, we thought we were getting Next Generation Season 8, basically, or a continuation of the Next Generation. What we're getting, or what we may be getting, if this is what the whole series is about, this is just Deep Space Nine Season 8. This is a continuation of the Dominion War, and a new war with the Founders, terrorist Founders. And I'm like, damn. I was so enjoying this. I was so into it. I was yelling back at the screen. I was crying with the characters. I had a headache halfway through the episode from being so engaged emotionally, and just, I haven't cared about Star Trek in 15 years, and I actually was like right in there with them. And now it's like they pushed me out with the Dominion War, Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine was the least Star Trek of the Star Trek shows. It was well written, it was well acted, it was quality, it was just as good a quality as Voyager and the original Next Generation, everything. But it really betrayed what Star Trek really was about. That basically we had gotten past war. We had a utopia, and what this show said was, well, that's just an illusion that we can't maintain without all the darkness of modern days. And I hated that about Deep Space Nine. And if this is just part of the story, that's fine. If they're just giving a little bit of a nod to Deep Space Nine fans and letting them see sort of what happened after Deep Space Nine and so forth, that's okay. But if this is what the whole series is about, the whole series is just about a war, another war with the Dominion. We've done this before. So yeah, it looks like Terry Matalas brought back Deep Space Nine and gave us Deep Space Nine Season 8, not Next Generation Season 7, or a continuation to the Next Generation movies. That's what my cynical side is saying right now. But I'm not sure. I was trying to keep this to 10 minutes, but I can see I'm going to go over 11 minutes. But yeah, so basically the episode ends off with the Titan slowly turning and tumbling in further into the nebula with some asteroid field or something in its path, and they've got no control, no weapons, no nothing. I'm guessing the Shrike or whatever is going to pull them out in return for, or save them, basically holding them, you know, dangling them over a cliff until they get Jack. That's what I'm guessing is going to happen. I was kind of hoping they'd kill her and be done with her in one more episode, and then move on to something else. Because I want this show to be bigger than Vadek or whatever her name is, and I want it to be bigger than just a continuation of the Dominion War. I want there to be this big universe sort of changing sort of thing to still happen. And we're only 3 episodes in, and it is brilliant, but then it fell off a cliff with, you know, this Deep Space Nine letdown. It's like, this better not be it. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I am enjoying this, and it was extra delightful knowing that, you know, Discovery is ending and there won't be any more of that, and this is, you know, what we've got to enjoy. I don't know, I'm just waffling now, but yes, I can't wait for the next episode, mostly because I just want to see that this little, you know, Dominion War sort of it's just a sidetrack thing, and it's not what the whole series is about. So I'm going to go.